This was a very interesting article. This was out of the
really
Guardian.
Interesting.
There are a lot of bitter people here, and I'm one of them. Rust Belt voters on why they backed Trump again despite his broken promises. Many in Youngstown, Ohio, believe the president-elect will tackle the town's decline this time. Others are worried about his character flaws. Their concerns explain how he returned to power and how his second term might play out. This was a depressing article. I had feelings after reading this article, like for real, because on the one hand, they're describing, they paint this picture of Youngstown, Ohio, which is really the quintessential Rust Belt state example here in America. It is a state that had, back in like the 1960s and 70s, it had a thriving industrial economy. And that economy really represented not just a town, but an America that no longer exists. And what I mean by that is like, there was a time in now Rust Belt, but in these industrial thriving communities where a single good paying job that you could get right out of high school could support yourself and a family. And those jobs dried up and went away. Those plants closed, that industry shuttered. And then another thing happened at the same time. And I feel like sometimes the people in those Rust Belt towns they only got one of two important memos. And the one memo is that like the industrial base in this country pretty much collapsed. That memo they definitely got. And I feel for all of these people very, very much. But the other memo that seems to be sort of intentionally not there because politicians lie about it all the time is that there is probably not going to be a return to an America where a high school degree or high school diploma will allow one person in a family to get a job that supports that family. That those times are probably just gone. We are probably in a new part of the American economy, which means that outside of a lucky few who are really at the top earner position, the middle class base that allowed a single income to support a family, that concept is gone. That economic reality is gone. But politicians keep going into the Rust Belt and promising a return as if there's going to be this micro-geographical economy where industry will reappear, and at the same time, that second memo goes away, the clock goes backwards, and a single income now supports an entire family.
Yeah.
And it's depressing. It's upsetting because these people are just being fucking lied to.
Yeah.
And they're stuck, dude. Yeah. And there's no getting them unstuck.
Well, and I think that one of the messages you should see when you read this article is that there's a group of people there that are angry. They don't believe politicians anymore, and they very much just want to upset the apple cart.
Yeah.
They very much just want to change what's happening because it's not good for them. They have to work too much. There's not as many, they don't make nearly as much money to support themselves. They're on, they're every moment is second to second, not even paycheck to paycheck, right? These people are there's a lot of people just in real bad hardship. And when the politicians come there, they said, most of these people that they talked to were like, yeah, we know they're all bastards, but at least Trump feels like he's saying he wants to change things, feels like he's saying he wants to flip things on their head, feels like he's saying the things. They don't, when you read this article, it almost seems like they don't believe him.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
They're saying, we kind of don't believe him. We think he's a liar, but it's better than someone just coming here and saying everything's okay.
Right. It feels to me like Woodstock 99, where people are mad and they just want to break shit.
Yeah.
And that feels like there's a huge, and I get it. Like I understand because we have dismantled the middle class in America. We've made it impossible to the point of ridiculousness to be middle class. Wage inequality has grown and grown and grown and grown. And like wages have not kept up with inflation at all. The world that these people sort of grew up in is not available anymore in America. Like I said, the idea that, because like, I do think that it should be the case that a single income should be able to provide a reasonable standard of living for a family. I don't think
Sure.
that we should all be striving toward rebuilding that, but we're not trying to rebuild that.
No.
Our policies very clearly reflect and really, if you look at kind of the philosophical zeitgeist in America, that idea that one person's income can support a family is now sort of touted as like, fucking lazy. Why wouldn't you both want to work? Working is its own. Creating that creating that sort of shame around both people not working, despite living in the same environment with no safety nets and no child care and no, so like all those things that were expensive about having kids and raising a family are now actually more expensive than they've ever been. Housing is unapproachable. Child care is wildly expensive. We've made these things impossible. We've built these impossible barriers to the middle class. And then we're kind of blaming and shaming the very people who want those things.
Yeah.
For not being able to have them and for not building them themselves in an environment where they're unattainable. It's fucking wild. It's just wild.
I recognize these people's anger. I think that I don't think they thought this through completely. I feel like, like Trump's just lying to you, right? I think there are many that suspect it, but really he is. He doesn't care about you. He never cared about you. It's obvious if you just pay attention to him for a minute. I think they're stuck in this mode, but I think aggressively, the Democratic Party or the left side of the aisle at this point, and if it's not the Democrats, it's got to be somebody, has to go after that group of people and lift them up. That has to be the focus of everything, is to lift up this wide swath of Americans who have been eating so much shit for the last 20 years. They've been eating so much shit, and they are sick and tired of it. They don't want to live like this anymore. They're like you say, there's like all these American dream promises are lost on them. There's nothing for them anymore. They can't afford a house until they're in their 60s. It's a mess. And there has to be aggressive policies that go after them. And it has to happen, or else you're just going to see exactly what happened last time. They're just going to switch the switch off again, and then they're going to do it again next time. They're going to keep doing, because if they don't see any change, there's no reason to vote for the Republicans. They're not going to do that again, because they'll be like, well, you fucked us last. You said eggs were going to be cheaper. They're not.
Right.
And then they're going to vote for somebody else. So you gotta be ready to sweep them up and say, we're fixing this. We're going to do something to fix this, whether it's minimum wage or, whatever it is that you can do to change things. I mean, there's smarter people out there than me. I'm a fucking guy with a microphone. I don't know how to fix it, but there's smarter people out there that can plan. I mean, look at Bernie Sanders. That guy's had plans for years on how to target the middle class and lift those people up. That's who you need to lead this party. You need people like that to lead the party and say, go get those people, lift them up and help them, and they will repay you.
Cecil, is part of the problem that the real solutions to wage inequality and wage stagnation and runaway inflation and lack of is part of the problem that those solutions are complicated and not sexy? And let's break shit is simple.
So let's break shit is simple. It's very simple. Yeah. I think there's definitely something to that, but I think the key is that you've got to, since they are so complicated, you've got to simplify your message, but be ready to do the hard, complicated shit behind the scenes to fix all that. The hard mess it is to rewire that machine. You've got to be able to do it. And you've also got to have a message that's like, we'll fix this. Like, that's your message. Like, we'll fix it. Because here's the thing, man. You don't have to explain it. We know you don't have to explain it because Trump never explained a fucking thing he was going to do. They sat him on a stage and he kept saying tariff, tariff, tariff. And he has no idea what he's talking about.
None.
So what you say on the campaign doesn't matter as your vibes. Get your vibes out there. Tell people like fucking, I'm going to fix your shit, and be honest with them and be like, I'm going to fix your shit. And then when they ask you how, be like, look, I'm going to fix it. Like, you know what I mean? What does it matter? Nobody fucking cares. Like, just say it. I'm going to fix it.
Yeah, it's going to be fixed. You won't believe how fixed it's going to be.
It's complicated. I'm going to fix it. Like, I'm going to fix it. I'm going to fucking make sure that, like, people have jobs and we bring manufacturing back or whatever it is that you know, like, make it small and in sound bites. And then you know that there's going to be hard edges, but you're just going to have to fix it. And if you can fix it, you're going to be a fucking amazing leader. People will love you. You'll get 2 terms. Everyone will love you.
Well, and you know, you're exactly right too, because like once you get elected, none of that shit you said matters, right? Because like, what did Trump say about the price of groceries? It turns out that's harder to fix than I thought.
Yeah.
But like the whole time he's on the campaign trail, like my cereal is going to be $1.99 again.
It's the biggest thing he talked about.
Right.